And we're live with episode 3 of the Beyond the Finish Line podcast that we're still not sure if that's the name for it, but we're running with it. Georgia, how you doing, mate?
I'm well, Matt. How are you?
Yeah, good, good. Fresh off a 10-day training camp. So
I know it
my
looked
body has
epic.
been,
Sorry I couldn't
yeah,
come.
yeah, everyone was very upset. Just, they were
Next year.
gutted. No, we got it. We got one in, we're going to do one in June for
Oh,
marathon camp.
cool.
I don't know where
So,
it's going to be though.
oh, right. I was going to say, because you went down to Lake Jindabyne, which is amazing. I spent a lot of my childhood down that way, so it's cool to see you down there.
Yeah, it was perfect for a summer camp, but I don't know how everyone would go running in Jindy in the winter. I don't think they'd
No,
like me very much.
Jindy in the winter is not fun at all. No, thank
It
you.
was even cold. It was cold this time of year. Like we did Kosciuszko. I think it was like 4 degrees when we got to the top.
Crazy. Still haven't
Yeah,
done that. Need to do it.
we ran it. It was good fun.
It was like 20 Ks, right? I think I saw on one of the girls. Yeah.
Oh no, Taylor wanted to do a half marathon, so she was doing laps around the car park and then
Oh,
got the shits.
I've been
It's like
there.
18 and a bit. Yeah.
I have definitely been there where you have to run laps of the car park.
Yeah. Yeah. But then she was like, oh no, the car park's too small, so she just gave up.
It's so funny because someone the other day, I did a 20K run as part of, I think you had programmed me 19 and we ended up having to do 20 just because of the route that we took.
Mhm.
And someone messaged me on Strava being like, why didn't you just run 21 so you could say it was a half marathon? And I was like, dude, you do enough of them at one point, you just kind of don't
It
really
just
care
doesn't matter.
anymore.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what I said to Taylor. I'm like, what are you trying to prove? You've run enough of these things.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you're in the midst of training for a marathon, you do a half marathon once a week.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, so I was like, there's absolutely no way I'm running an extra kilometer in this heat just so I can say I ran a half.
Yeah, pointless. What have you been up to?
Not much. I turned 30 this week, which is exciting. I feel
Hmm.
like I'm a proper adult now.
You're turning into an endurance athlete. Once you're 30, endurance prime.
Endurance Prime, I love that. I'm going to
Yep,
keep using that actually.
yep.
But yeah, 30 this week, which is exciting. And you've got me running my butt off, and I'm at the gym a fair bit, but personally, not too much is happening. Still chasing that ticket to London Marathon in April.
Yeah, what's the deal with that? Like, when do you find out?
Well, I've entered probably 5 competitions that all get announced this week. And I've
Hmm.
got people who have entered competitions for me, like ones where you can win 2 tickets, and they're like, I'll
Oh, right,
give you
right, right.
my other one. And yeah, a couple of people that I know who have friends in the industry are kind of asking around for me. But I mean, at the end of the day, I will be in London the same weekend, and there are some incredible elite athletes running London Marathon. So it'll be great to be there anyway.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of like Sydney. It's just a vibe on the day anyway, isn't it? Like, just to be around it.
100%. Although London Marathon is like Sydney Marathon on absolute steroids. The
Yeah.
entire course is lined with people, and we've got friends running, so it'll be fun regardless. But I'm still manifesting that ticket to run.
It's interesting, like, at what point do you change does running a marathon become fun? Like, if I ask 25-year-old Georgia, but hey, you going to London?
Yeah.
And you're like, cool, we can go out in Knightsbridge or we're going to go run a marathon. Like, at what point does the scale tip?
Oh, honestly, and the thing that kicks me the most is that when I was 25, I was living in London, and yet I don't think I ran once when I lived there. I was
How long were you
doing,
living in London?
sorry.
How long did you live in London for?
We lived there 2 and a bit years. We were on that tier two, tier three,
Yeah, tier two. Yeah, tier
whatever it
two.
was, the youth
Yeah.
mobility visa. So we were there for, yeah, 2 years. And I kick myself every day that I didn't run then because it was so easy to get in the marathon then. I had friends that would just sign up and get in.
Yeah, like the week of.
Oh, it's so annoying. Anyway, we live and we learn. I lived in a really great part of London that had some beautiful parks surrounding it. I was halfway between, if you know London, I was halfway between
Yeah, I live there.
Clapham, where all the Aussies are,
Yep.
and like Battersea Park, which is like a really cool kind of up and coming area. But yeah, just walked, didn't run.
Yeah,
And
right.
I think if you had told that girl living in London that I would have wanted to do the marathon, I would have been like, "Are you for real? That is not me."
Mm.
I was a bit of a gym
What
rat.
year?
I was, yeah, heavy
Yeah.
weights.
What years were you in London? Do you remember?
Yeah, yeah. I was there 2018, 2019.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just missed each other. I came home
Yeah.
2017.
Oh, really? I
Mm.
didn't know that. Oh, that's right. You were saying I did know that. You were working for Gordon Ramsay,
Yeah.
was it?
Yeah, I was over there for just over 5 years.
Yeah, right. Because that's right. We went to the same restaurant that you worked at, but it would
Yeah.
have probably been in 2018, so the year
Yeah.
after.
Yeah.
How
I
funny.
wasn't working for Gordon the whole time I was there, but yeah, I was in London.
Another life. Hey, I was
Another life, yeah.
working for children that were very,
Are
very,
we doing the nanny thing?
the nanny thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Every
Like,
female Australian is either a bartender or a nanny.
hey, look, I made more money than my entire house made, so it
Yeah.
was great. It was the best kind of,
Oh,
I
it's a good
mean,
gig for sure.
oh, it's a great gig. I mean, I think at the time I was making £10 an hour, which is below minimum wage here in Australia.
Mm.
But none of my housemates made that much, and I worked 50 something hours a week, so it was so good. And I
Yeah.
traveled with the family to all these amazing places all over the world, so it was a pretty cool gig.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Cool. So, guys, if you're wondering why we're doing a bit of a catch up, George and I recorded the first two episodes pre-Christmas, and then obviously Christmas we didn't record, and then I was away, and Georgia went away, and then I went away again. So we actually haven't spoken for about a month. So
Yeah, we've
we're
been busy. We've been busy, and Matt has just been programming all of my runs for me, and I just do them, and we don't talk about it.
legit. That's our relationship,
I
and then
know.
we catch up. But we need to. We're launching the. Well, you guys will know this because you've already listened to it, but we are launching the podcast in 2 or 3 days, sometime this week.
Yeah.
So it'll be every week from here on out.
Yeah, so keep your eyes and ears out for that because I promise you I will be here every Monday recording with you.
Awesome. Can't wait.
So last year, I'm not sure if you remember, Matt, we talked about our kind of what we had goals we had set for the
Mm.
year and whether we had achieved our goals, whether that was in endurance sports like you, running like me, if we were happy with our year. But now we thought we maybe would chat a little bit more about goal setting and some ways that you can implement, goal setting into your everyday life.
Yeah. I brought the screenshot up here. I said idea for next week's pod, which was on the 18th of December, so you guys can see the how far apart it is.
He's calling me out here. Nothing is safe.
Mate, slave of content. You got to do it for the content. Follow on from goal setting, how to break down goals into manageable chunks, building training blocks, etc. And you're like, yeah, perfect. I'm shit at goal setting, so maybe we can talk about that, and I can just ask you my questions.
How good, guys. We can all go along for the ride in how I ask Matt how to set goals and you just get the answers.
Well, I think it's good because you like we've said from the start, you and I are just so different in how in terms we process things, and I feel like the questions you ask are very relatable.
Yeah, I
And
mean, at the end of the day, I'm an everyday kind of gal.
yeah, absolutely.
And that's always been my strive and my content focus has been I'm just like everyone else. There's nothing crazy special about me. I wasn't born with these incredible gifts to be athletic. Jumped into this sport 3 years ago, and so it is great that I have you along for the ride with me now because I can ask you all these sorts of questions and you can give me honest answers, and now we can share them with everyone instead of
Yeah,
keeping them in a
and
group chat.
and I think when people hear how we break down fitness goals, it's very relatable across multiple facets of life, whether that's finances, whether that's career, whether that's, I don't know, just all sorts of different things. The
Mm.
principles remain the same. And I think people will be able to take the structure and implement it into different bits.
Yeah. I mean, in other aspects of my life, I can set a, I can set a goal and break it down. Like budgeting, goals for money, perfect. When it comes to fitness goals, not so much.
But why do you think it changes?
I think I can just wrap my head around it a little bit more. I think with budgeting and finances, I've always been quite good with that. And so it's all numbers and I just chuck it in my spreadsheet and I'm good. Whereas when it comes to fitness, I still feel like I don't have enough knowledge to really break it down.
Okay. So you think it's more an education thing rather than anything else?
Definitely, definitely. I know I have big goals for this year, but I wouldn't know how to get there besides just being consistent and working hard.
Yeah. So let's just run a little bit of a thought experiment. If I asked you to save $1,000 in 10 weeks,
Mm.
just to keep the numbers nice and whole, how would you break that down?
I would literally just take the 1,000 and divide it by 10. So I just know
Yeah.
that's how much I would have to do.
Yeah. $100 a week for 10
Yeah,
weeks.
yeah.
Yeah. So why do you think that changes when it comes to fitness?
I mean, I I would know that I have to break it down into not I'm not going to be able to go from today and then tomorrow reaching my goal. I know there's obviously things you have to implement, but I
Hmm.
wouldn't know how to break it down. I wouldn't know how to program my weekly training or anything like that. But in terms of the goal, I just see that goal in my mind and I see it in the distance and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to work my ass off until I get there.
Yeah. And how do you land on the goal?
Just make it up. Just wing it, do you know? No, I think oh, I don't know, running's a bit funny. I don't know who came up with these big goals like sub 4. Like who decided sub 4 was the number? But
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess yeah, I went
Isn't
from
that the average? Or is it
no,
average
the
men's?
average for a female marathon runner is 4 hours 47, which is basically what it was for my first marathon. And
Yeah.
then my goal after that was a 4:30. I really just wanted to get that. And then I think I met you and I was just like, let's go crazy and do a sub 4. And I think I scared you a little bit.
No.
I'm a bit like that though. I feel like my goals are 0 to 100. It's like let's just skip that whole bit in the middle and just get this crazy goal because it's more motivating for me.
Yeah, we spoke about that last time because I was like, remember, I was like, if you set really audacious goals, even if you only get 80% of the way there, it's way further than setting a conservative goal.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah. So
I agree.
yeah. So yeah, I think you're in your head a little bit about it, to be honest. Sure, you don't need to know the day to day in terms of like, do I need to do a threshold run? What does that threshold run
Mhm.
need to look like? Am I doing enough zone two? That's kind of irrelevant. But if you just break it down like in its simplest form, let's say you've got 9 months for the marathon. You're like, okay, what is it? 14, 9 months, break it down into lots of three month training blocks. At the end of training block one, I need to be able to run 14 kilometers at X at training block two.
Yeah.
I need to run 28, and then by the end of training block three, 42. Like, I think it's just people get a little bit too in their head about it.
Why do you think that is? Do you think there's a social pressure or a pressure to themselves?
Yeah, I definitely think social media fucks people because, like you say, they put these numbers on people, and they
Mm.
don't necessarily understand the math. Like sub four, for example. Like I've had probably three girls come for consults since the start of the year. Zero running experience, not a particularly athletic background, nothing. Not nothing. Like they go to the gym, they do bits and pieces, but no like endurance background. And they're like, "Yep, sub four." I'm like, "How'd you land on sub four?" And they're like, "I don't know." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, we haven't even run 5Ks. Like it could take you an hour and a half to run 5Ks. We don't know."
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a crazy goal. I mean, my first goal for my first ever marathon was to finish. I was like, I
To
just want to get
finish
across the
out, and
line.
that's what I encourage people. But I think social media just really. I hate blaming social media too because I think you've got to put your own filter on it, but it becomes harder and harder.
Yeah.
But I just think it corrupts people. And like some people think, oh, if it's going to take me 5 hours to run my first marathon, what's the point? Everyone's going to laugh at me. And you're just like,
Yeah.
you've run
Do
a
you know what?
marathon, mate. Like,
I think it is definitely, I think somewhere along the line, the fact that you're running a marathon got lost. And I know we've spoken about this before, but I still get girls, women saying to me, "Oh, gosh, I wish I could run that fast. I have to run 7 minutes and I'm so slow." And I'm like, who's told you that was slow?
mm,
It's like, why put a number on it? If, yeah, sure, you're running 7 minutes, but why is that a bad thing? You're still running.
yeah, 100%. And it's interesting. I was having a financial conversation with my accountant the other day, and I was like, she was telling me about this young fella who came in starting his first business, and he was like, I'm going to make $1 million in the first year. And she specifically said, I'm gonna make a milli. And I
Oh,
was and she was like, it was really interesting because she's an older lady, she's probably in her 50s, and she was like, the disrespect that kids put on such an exorbitant amount of money based on
yeah,
social media, because she's got kids who sort of talk the same way.
yeah,
And she was like, $1 million is such an absurd amount of money to make, and you just call it like a milli. Like you
like
don't
it's
even give it the
nothing.
respect it deserves.
Yeah,
Same with the marathon. I think people just think like, oh, just go out and run a marathon. It's
yeah.
like that is just like, it needs to be treated in the most upper echelon of sporting endeavors on the planet.
Could not agree more. And I think the whole marathon thing is everyone's just pushing to be the next person to do something crazy.
Yeah.
And like I have friends that, they're doing their first marathon, but then I have friends that go out and run a marathon on a Tuesday morning because they feel like it.
Mm.
And it's like, where along the line did we forget that a marathon is a really big endeavor?
Well,
I
the
mean,
bloke who invented marathon died.
sorry.
Do you not know that?
Look, you will come to know, Matt, that I've fallen in love with this sport, but I don't know everything about this sport.
So, from my best knowledge, this story is true because I have heard it quoted multiple times from multiple different sources.
Okay.
Um, Marathon was a city in Greece,
Yes.
and there was another city. We don't know if it was 42.2 kilometers away, but approximately 40 kilometers away. That was there was a enemy army about to attack the city. They sent a boy to run to the next city to let them know to get the army ready, and that was 40. I said apparently 42.2 kilometers. He
Surely,
got
yeah.
there,
Yeah.
gave them the message, and then died. And then they named the race that distance after him.
Wow.
I
That's,
might have misquoted some bits and pieces in there, but that's the guts of it.
I know, the temptation to look that story up and check if you're right, but I won't.
I'm I'm gonna do it while we're talking.
But yeah, look, I think, as I was saying, I think the people have forgotten how long a marathon is. And then you start hearing these people that are like, oh, I'm going to run. Like, I know this guy, incredible guy, super lovely. He ran 50 kilometers every day for 50 days.
Yeah.
Just cause. And I
Wow.
was like, mate, this is another level of crazy.
Yeah, but what if a marathon was 30 kilometers, right? Would people, you're saying the people who go out and run a marathon on a Tuesday just because? If a marathon was 30, would they stop at 30, or do they just run 40 because like, oh, that's what I feel like doing?
No,
You know what I mean? Like,
they're running 40 because they want to say they ran 40.
yeah. So I'm just like, I wonder what the why is for people. Because again, going back to some of these people who have come and like got consults from me, this is men and women.
Yeah.
I ask them why. Like, there's a first question I ask them. I'm like, I get them to fill out a little survey, what their goals are, what they want to do, blah blah blah, and then I just ask them why. And the amount of people who can't tell me why they want to do a marathon or do an Ironman, and I don't know, just seems fun. I'm like, I think you've just seen it on social media, which is fine. Like, if that motivates
Yeah.
you to run, go for it. But like, it's just amazing how it's just people just think it's just this thing that you just go and do.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, look, I can kind of understand that. My why has always been was always raising money for charity. Because as someone who couldn't run, a lot of people were like, "Wow, this is an effort, so we will donate," you know. And the marathon for me was I was raising money for my nephew who tragically passed away, and that for me was my biggest drive. I was like, I need to finish this race because I want to raise as much money as I can. But now people are just like, I don't know, just want to do it because I'm bored. Which I mean,
Yeah,
there's
it's
nothing wrong
just
with that. You do you, but yeah, for
yeah,
me,
it's
that
just
was
a
always
while. Like the two going to do something because you're bored or like just because that just seemed fun and marathon are not the same level. I feel like a 10K is like, oh, I just went for a run on Sunday. Like, because I was just bored, I'd go for a run. Like, oh, I ran 10Ks. Like, that's awesome. If you're not a
yeah,
runner and you just go and run 10Ks, awesome.
yeah.
You don't just go and run 40, 42.2, but
I know. And then there's those
wild.
crazy people that do it just for the, I don't know, the clout, I guess, the Strava clout.
It's wild. So here, the story of the marathon is about a Greek messenger who ran from Marathon to Athens to deliver the news of victory over the Persians. The story inspired the modern Olympic marathon, which was first held in 1896.
There you go. Did he
Yeah.
die though? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I've been scrolling through. He's dead.
He's dead. Sad.
Well, I mean, obviously he's dead, but he died after the run because it
After
was
the
like,
run.
100, however many 100 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, God, poor kid. How sad. But yeah, I mean, plenty of people, it's still a big effort. You hear so many people who do marathons and stuff and they either die or they get really unwell from it.
Yeah.
I think that's where people have lost that. Oh my God, a marathon is such a big endeavor.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, I remember watching the Iron Man documentary, and there's this famous scene where these two women are crawling down like the finishing chute because their legs are just spasming and cramping
Yeah,
and they can't even stand up.
I've
And
seen
it's
that.
just like, yeah, like it should put the fear of God into you.
And yet people still go and do it.
Yeah, it's just bizarre.
There's
Um,
nothing more heartwarming though than seeing those videos of people collapsing at the finish line and then people pick them up and run them across.
yeah, yeah. I just, I don't know how I'd feel if someone helped me finish.
Well, okay,
I'm
so
up.
this is, I was talking about this on the weekend, just going to
Mm,
helping you finish something. So I was talking to someone about my sub four goal, and I mentioned how you mentioned last year that you were like, I will come to Sydney and I will pace you if I need to get you across on the sub four. And I was like, but see, that to me is that you're helping me finish. That is
how
you.
is that different to you using a pacer in the marathon?
I know. And this is what someone else said
Which
because
I
they
was
were like,
against, just for the record, but continue.
yeah. And look, I didn't like using a pacer. I have my own personal thing with that now. But I think, yeah, how is it any different? I just feel weird about it. I felt less weird about the pacer, but I hated it. But I think having a coach there where you'd be like, come on, go, go, go,
I didn't say
was
I'd do that. I just said I'd run at a 5 minute 30 pace.
consistently be a better
Yeah.
pacer.
Yeah. I would just run at that pace and that would guarantee you a result. I didn't say I'd get and talk to you or encourage you. I would just be like, you can sit on my heels for 3 hours and
No.
58 minutes.
It'll be right. Nah, I'm still gonna do it myself. Can't wait.
Yeah. No, I would actually rather you fail than me having to externally motivate you. I think
Mm.
you'd learn a lot more about yourself.
I think so, but I'm not gonna fail. So my goal is this sub four,
Yeah.
and I think going off what you've just said, breaking it down into achievable blocks, and I guess that is why you do a block of training, right? Is to get to a distance down the end of the line or a goal or whatever it is. How would you, someone who's new to running and
Hmm.
has quite not an unachievable goal because no goal is unachievable, but as you said, someone who's just started running and they're like, I want to run a marathon. How do you get them there?
So it's a good question. just back on what you just said, 'cause you said no goal is unachievable. We literally just, I did this with the guys down at training camp. I was like, no goal is unachievable. What people do is they put an unrealistic time frame on things. So they
Yeah.
go, I'm going to run a sub 4 hour marathon. I'm going to do it at the end of January. I'm like, well, we got 10 days. So that's unrealistic. If you go, hey, I'm going to run a sub 4 marathon on, is it the 31st of July? August?
August, yeah.
31st of August. I'm like, cool, that's a much more realistic time frame. And then maybe someone who has never run before, I'm like, 31st of August 2027. I'm like, cool, like that's an awesome time frame to do it. So the first thing I try and do is assess the time frame, and
Yep.
that really makes things whether they're realistic or not. Again, like if we go back to that $1,000 goal, if I'm like, hey, save $1,000 tomorrow, you're like, it's just not possible. But if I'm like,
Yeah,
hey, save
or
$1,000 over a decade, you're like, I don't even need to think about it. It's just going to happen.
yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
time frame is super important when setting goals. Um, the next thing is just assessing your baseline. So starting where you're at. So go out and run for 30 minutes, go out and run for 45 minutes, go out and run for 60 minutes. That's normally the first 3 runs I give people. That could happen over 7 to 10 days, just depending on where they're at. Sometimes they might not even get to the 60-minute run if they're like really fresh into running.
Yeah.
And it might turn into 3 half-an-hour runs, 2 45-minute runs, just depending on where they're at. And then from there, we sort of go, cool, like this is where you're at. We know absolutely the baseline, and now let's set a realistic first step. So if their longest run was half an hour, by the end of the next 7 days, you're going to do a 40-minute run. And then 7 days after that, we're going to go to 50 minutes. 7 days after that, you're going to go to an hour. And then by the end of the month, you'll be able to do 2 to 3 1 hour runs in a week, which we've already gone, what's that? We've 3x'd your running inside of a month. And then we just continue that process, build and build and build.
Do you always work off time as opposed to distance?
When first starting out with runners, yeah, time and
Yeah.
heart rate over distance and pace for sure.
Yeah.
That's my gold standard, because let's just say we get 2 runners. One runner is someone very similar to yourself, and one runner is someone who's never run before. For you to run 5Ks at a zone 2, let's just call it half an hour, just like as a nice basic number. For the other person, that could be an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not a fair work. So you're fitter and you're doing less work. This other person is not necessarily, let's not use the word fit, but just a slower runner, and they've got to do nearly 3 times the amount of work. And chances are this person who's not as good a runner is less experienced, probably less conditioned, probably doesn't even know how to cope with a 75-minute run, just in terms of the mental aspect, let alone the
Yeah.
physical aspect.
Yeah.
So yeah, until we really get into marathon specific work or race specific work, it is always time and heart rate versus distance and pace.
Yeah, and that's a great way of putting it, in saying that, my zone 2 is a lot different to someone else's zone 2.
Yeah.
When I started my zone 2s, they were in the late 7s, early 8s sometimes,
Yep.
and you were banging on to me about having to run slower, and I never got it.
Yeah.
Whereas now my zone 2 is somewhere between 6:30-ish, depending on the day and the conditions. And so my half an hour run looks totally different to someone else's.
Yeah. So I think that's definitely something people, again, whether it's a social thing or whether it's just something we've been conditioned with growing up, because, the thing was always go run a 5K, cross country was always 5K, all those sorts of things. Whether people just think like 5K is the minimal acceptable standard to go for a run.
Yeah, like a 3K run is a bit of a waste of time in some people's eyes.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but running for an extended period of time should be your goal. Like the distance will take care of itself over time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I am so, and there's, it's interesting. I think it was Beck, one of the girls I coach who was at camp. She said her friend's running coach only does distance and pace. And I was like,
Oh,
that's so interesting. Like, I'd love to have a chat with that coach and just find out
why?
why, like what their methodology is, because it just, I can't work it out. And that's not saying
They're
I'm right and
wrong.
they're wrong. That's just
Yeah.
saying like I don't understand it. So I always imagine it like a chart, like a grid. So you
Hmm.
got like the y-axis and x-axis. At the top, you have like pace and heart rate, and as the block goes on, it goes down. So time and heart rate become less important. And on the other axis,
It's going up.
guys, this will only work if you're watching the video. But on the other axis, as the marathon block goes up, distance and pace become more important.
Yeah, and
And
so at
yeah,
some point they cross over in the middle if I'm sure most people will understand what you're talking about.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's call it when marathon block starts. So that's normally 12 weeks for you. We'll use Georgia as the example, somewhere
Yeah.
between 12 and 15 weeks. That axis will cross, and then we start focusing on distance. Where that's where we're like, hey, we're going to do 4 by 5K, 5 by 5K, 10
Yeah.
by 3K, whatever it is. And that becomes
Oh,
so much more important than
those long
you
runs are
love the 3
killers.
by 10K. That's Georgia's favorite workout.
That one's the worst. I still
3 by
remember that.
10K at marathon pace with a 500-meter float. It's a favorite.
Oh, yeah. So I love it so much. I crave those kinds of runs.
Yeah, we call it the Big
I don't know
Daddy
what's
for a
worse.
reason.
I don't know what's worse though, the 10K block or the 8K block. I feel
Or the
like,
8K sting, the 4 by 8K.
oh,
Gnarly.
that one
No.
is, yeah, because you can't quite get into a rhythm and then you back off a bit and then you back in and oh, it was horrible.
Yeah,
But hey, we get there.
it worked. Got you fit.
Did get me fit, don't worry. The fittest I've ever been. And it'll work again this year and I wholeheartedly look forward to those runs, Matt.
Yeah, everyone, we've got to convince Georgia to do marathon camp. It's going to be in June. It's not open to the public, but it'll be good content that you guys will get to watch because Georgia will document the whole thing.
I know we all know that I'll document the entire thing and yeah.
Speaking of documenting, everyone loved my idea. Sorry, guys, this was at camp. We had the Performance Project summer training camp. So I had a bunch of my guys come down, meet me in Jindy, and we trained for the whole week. I was saying to where Georgia and I discussed doing phone reps of you running, recording yourself as part of your training. They thought it was genius.
I mean, I need them. I need to work out how to run at a more controlled pace when filming. That is a big one because the minute I pull my phone out, I either go way too fast or way too slow. And then I also need to work out how I can chat and stick to my pace because that is where I went downhill in the marathon.
Yeah. So Georgia, maybe you can turn this into a reel or something for Instagram, guys. I want to know what you think. My theory is Georgia missed out on the sub 4 because she was filming so much and couldn't regulate her pace, and she kind of went up and
100%
down,
that's the
up.
reason.
Yeah, no, but I got to give them the whole thing because you've just taken my thunder because I came up with this concept.
You
You've
did, you
claimed it as
did.
your own.
I will not take your thunder.
So I said for this training block, what if we did like 4 by 1K filming? I just said it as a joke, and Georgia was like, "That's actually not a bad idea. Maybe we could do that." So, do you guys think we should do this, and Georgia can document and be like, "I'm doing phone reps."
Phone reps. Oh my gosh. Strengthening the filming muscles.
That's it. Yeah, running one arm like this.
Oh, and seriously, I reckon there's something in this because if I'm running and filming, I'm a portable gimbal. I'm telling you now, I am
You're
clear.
pretty
These
smooth. It's pretty
videos,
smooth.
pretty smooth, right? Whereas poor old Nick, he goes out and films and
Oh,
there's
he
an
has a
arm
rough
in the
time.
corner and
He has a
it's
rough
like
time.
bumpy.
He's getting after it. He's concentrating on the running, not concentrating on the filming. Georgia could learn
Look,
something.
he and I are a team, and if I need to film, he needs to film.
Yeah, yeah. That is actually
Exactly.
something good about you guys is like you guys film for each other and stuff.
Yeah, it's a definitely a team effort on that one. But maybe I just need better camera gear so that I can comfortably run and
See,
not.
this is something we could do if I paced you, I could wear a GoPro mount on my back and you could have like a wireless mic and it could just run behind me and talk to it.
We could do a we could do a podcast
We
episode
could do a
on a run.
podcast while running sub 4. That's a fucking idea. I don't
Maybe
know how
how
we'd
about
work
you
out that
run the
out.
sub 4 and I will film it and you can be the one. I'll be on a
I can
bum.
run sub 4.
Well, I know I can, but officially.
Yeah, you need to do it officially.
Promise I'll stop talking about it.
Ah, I just don't like giving trolls any leverage. And
Fuel.
every time, yeah, because I forget about it. When you just talk sub 4, I'm like, oh, yep, she's doing that. But every time you say official, I'm like, gives me a ick. I'm
Little
like, oh,
little
she just brought it up
twinge.
again.
Yeah, do you know
Yeah.
what? And I was saying this to you the other day, but I'm going to say it for these guys.
Mm.
I think I say it out of, it's almost like I've done it, but I don't want to say that I've done a sub 4 because it wasn't official. And so that's me kind of telling myself I'm capable. I just need to get the official one so that I can just like stick it to the assholes on the internet. But you're not wrong in saying that, yes, I am bringing it up again because last time I brought it up on my New Year's video, some guy like wrote this whole big comment thing and had a blue with my best friend on the internet about it, and I just blocked him. I was like, bye.
Yeah, it's just not worth it. Just like, who gives a fuck?
I know. They give me fuel, and I kind of get a bit like, oh, now I want to prove this guy wrong.
Yeah, I just don't think. I feel like I know at least your athletic personality well enough. I just
Yeah,
don't think you. I don't think you need the extra external motivation. I think you're intrinsically motivated enough.
yeah, yeah. So, with that being said, in the my goal for the year, I'm breaking it down into four blocks. Three, no,
Hmm.
three blocks, sorry. Um, is there any other ways that I should be implementing things to reach my goals with my goal setting? Any other things I should be doing?
The A big thing I try and get my guys to do is, and it's different for different people. So like, if you're new to goal setting, and doesn't matter whether it's financial, career wise, sport, whatever, is people get, and we see this with the burnout rate on of New Year's resolutions, right? So people set their New Year's resolution, super motivated. I'm going to do this. There's like a official day where everyone
The
quits it,
10th, I think. It's
something like
the
that.
10th of January is the official day everyone gives up.
Yeah, something like that. And that's because people go in balls to the wall. I'm going to be 100% um, compliant with it. And then as soon as they're not compliant with it, they go, what's the point? I'm not going to do it.
Mhm.
I try and encourage my guys to do seasons. And by seasons, I mean, let's be super, super consistent over a period of time. Let's call it 6 months. So for the next 6 months, your goal is to be consistent. Now, if
Yep.
you look at that at a week by week basis and you're running 3 times a week, I'd say 2 out of 3 is consistent, right? Now, some people might look at that and think that's not consistent, but you go 2 out of 3 runs, and then the next week you do 3 out of 3, and then the week after that you do 2 out of 3 and 3 out of 3, and you repeat that cycle. And you look at that over 6 months, you've gone, oh, cool, I've completed over 80% of my prescribed workouts. And it hasn't really taken any sort of tax on me. I'm not fatigued, I'm not burnt out. I feel pretty good. Then we get to this last block where I'd call it marathon season. So for this 12 to 15 weeks, we are just laser focused.
Yeah.
And the reason you're able to do that 12 to 15 weeks of laser focus, and that's when we are 100 or as close to 100% compliant as we can, is because you've built up momentum over 6 months. You've shown I can be consistent for 6 months. I can do it for 6 months. And now we're just adding just a little bit more. We're not going from 0 to 100.
Mm.
On January 1st, we didn't start a marathon block. We're starting a marathon block, what is it, in June? Or maybe the end of
Mm.
maybe the end of
Once you,
May.
yeah, once you've already been consistent enough to
And
prove
you've
it.
proven to yourself weeks and weeks and weeks in a row that, hey, look, that week I was 100%, that week I was 80%, that week I was 90%, that week I was 75%. Every single one of those weeks is a win, a win, a win, a win. And then you're preparing yourself to go, cool, like this 12 to 15 week block, this season is where I go 90% nut. So I think
Oh,
that's a big thing I try and get into my guys is don't go 0 to 100. Do just be as compliant as you can over an extended period of time, and then when it's time to go, that's when we go. And then you can, if you're not sure if you can do it, you can look back over the whole X period of time and prove to yourself that you can do it.
yeah. And I think the funny thing is with that January 10 thing, don't they say that 21 days to create a habit?
Create a
And
habit,
so,
yeah, but
yeah,
only 3 days to break it or something.
yeah. So if you just stay consistent for whether it is the 21 days or whether it is the 6 month block or you,
Yeah,
yeah, you're more likely to succeed if you are consistent.
yeah, and I just think people are again going back to like how realistic are goals. How many people have set that goal? Because I know I've done it, especially when I was younger. I'm going to get 5 a.m. and run every day, or go to the gym every day, like whatever it is. And then day two rolls around and it's 5 o'clock and it's raining and you just go back to sleep and you go, well, it was a stupid goal anyway. I didn't care about it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's
So,
that's
but,
one
but
of
you've set yourself an unrealistic target. Like if you never got up at 5, why would you start getting up at 5?
yeah, exactly. If you never ran every day, why would you start running every day?
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things people ask me, especially over on like TikTok and stuff. People are always saying, how do you stay motivated? How do you stay consistent? And I'm like, well, I'm just in the habit of it now. I know every second day I'm running. And mentally, I wake up, it's a run day. Or I wake up, it's a gym day. And if I don't go, I'm not being consistent. And so I then go, oh, the next day, oh, I just won't go. Oh, I just won't go. And then all of a sudden, you're never going.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
kind of just
100%.
have to, you really just have to go, no, I have to go. Because if I don't go today, I'm not going to go. Or if I finish this run 10 minutes early, I'm going to finish every run 10 minutes early.
I think just on that, some people also think if I'm not doing it 100%, it's not worth doing. But like, there's been times, and we'll use Georgia as the guinea pig, where I've programmed her like a really, really hard thresholdy style run, and she'll just message me and she's like, I'm fucked, like I'm buggered, not can't do, like I'm just not in the right headspace, can't do it. I'm like, cool, go run easy for
Yep.
30 minutes.
Yep.
So instead of this 90 minute to 2 hour, 18 kilometer brutal session, she's just gone to run 30 minutes easy, then gone and got something, got a coffee and gone home.
Yeah.
And
And I
like that
mean,
is that's still a win.
still a
You've
win.
still consistency, still ticking the box, still moving
Yeah.
forward. That's what it's all about. So just because you can't go out and do an insane workout or like push your body to the limit, or even if like, and if you're doing a CrossFit or a High Rock something and doing like a full send workout, just go and get on the stationary bike for 30 minutes at the gym. Like that's
Yeah.
a win.
That
Like
is
just
definitely a win.
keeping the momentum moving. That's what we're trying to do. They don't all have to be Instagram worthy workouts. Like,
No, God, no. And I mean, take for example, on the weekend, I messaged you because we had a half marathon planned. And I just said to you, I was like, look, I'm celebrating with my friends on Saturday. It's my 30th. I don't know if I'm going to get this run done. And so I took a little bit easier towards the end of the night. I got up in the morning. I still smashed out 12 Ks, but then I was like, you know what? I feel rubbish. There's no point doing the 21 Ks and finishing this next 11 kilometers or whatever, finishing that and then wrecking myself for the rest of the week when I still went for a run. It was a win, but probably not the whole run.
yeah, where'd you message me that on? Is that WhatsApp? Is that Instagram?
Oh, I don't know. We have so many
I
conversations.
know. So I want to
You were like,
just
just
tell
go and
people.
have fun with your friends.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what I said. Um,
Matt's really exposing every message I send now. I'm gonna be careful. Who knows what he's gonna share with everyone?
I don't know where I said it, but the point I was gonna tell you guys, I actually told you don't even worry about running. I was like, just go have fun, like because she stacked consistency
Yeah.
over time, like, and that's what I mean. Like, if you guys are stacking wins on top of wins on top of wins, even if they're small wins, even if it is that
Mm.
30-minute run or that go for a walk or stationary bike, whatever, it gives you wriggle room when things come up and you can't do a session or like there is a better option, like celebrating your birthday. rather than doing a 21 kilometer 4 by 1.5K threshold run. Or actually, it was a marathon pace run. She can have the day off. She can, but it doesn't affect her compliance. It doesn't affect her progress towards the goal because she's been so consistent leading in, and she's going to be consistent afterwards.
Yeah.
It buys you the more. Do you? Here we go. This is going to show my fucking OCD. Do you know who Jocko Willink is?
No.
Okay, so Jocko Willink is a Navy SEAL from America, and he's gone a bit like mainstreamy now, but before he became like popular on social media, he was super hardcore, super disciplined. He posts a photo of his watch at 4:30 every single morning, 365 days a year, doesn't miss a day. And then after that, he posts a photo of his gym workout. Like it's all in black and white, and he's just like proper lunatic. But he has a book that's called Discipline Equals Freedom. And basically, the whole concept of the book is the more disciplined and structured you are throughout your day, the more room you have for freedom. So it's like his whole thing is if you get up at 4:30, you go to the gym, and obviously he's cemented this over years and years of being in the military, guys. So don't just
I was going to
go and
say
do this.
that's years of being a certain type of person too.
Yeah, like he's military man his whole life, like
Yeah.
Navy SEAL, high. That's just his thing. But his whole thing is gets up at 4:30, goes straight into his basement, into the gym, and then he works for like 3 hours or 4 hours, and like that's his whole day. He's disciplined with that. The rest of his day is whatever he wants to do. That's his whole like concept, and then he goes into much more detailed things, but that's basically the guts of it. He's like, if I'm not disciplined with that period of time, then my whole day falls apart, and too many emails are coming in, people trying to get a hold of me, people trying to get my attention, whether that's because he's an author now, publicist or whatever, podcast guests, all that sort of stuff. He's like, if I don't do these things, they don't get done. Georgia just sneezed, everyone. She tried to hide it.
Sneezed off camera. Oh
Tried to hide
dear.
it.
Yeah, right. I just can't imagine. I don't know what's his benefit of 4:30. Like, why not 5:30? Like a
I think it's
normal
just
time.
from the Navy. Like I think that was just their thing. Like they all got up at 4 when he was, because the SEAL teams are like they're a team.
Oh,
I think
right.
they all got up at 4:30. They all went to the gym together. That was like how they started their day, and he's just carried that off into his.
So he's not saying to everyone you should get up at 4:30.
No,
'Cause
no,
I mean,
he's just saying
that
the
is
principle
one.
of getting up at the same time, doing
Okay.
the 2 or 3 hardest things of the day straight away,
Yep.
and then lets the rest of the day fall how it will.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
don't take 4:30 as the gospel. I'm just saying that's his structure.
I know. I consistently tell myself I need to get up earlier every day, and look, it's my one downfall at the moment. We'll get there.
Yeah, it's interesting how we're coming up on an hour, guys. So we might make this the last thing we talk about. But it's interesting how early risers somehow linked with successfulness or productivity, when it's been like well established that there are people who are early birds and night owls, like just
Hmm.
based on who you are. But yet the people who stay up late and work, like there are so many famous authors who do it and
Yep.
journalists, but they don't get, there's no promotion of them being like, well, if I work from 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. and I get all this awesome work done, like no one promotes that as a healthy lifestyle when it could just be, and they still might get their 8 hours of sleep. I don't know, but it's just interesting how the one gets all the publicity
Yeah,
and one doesn't.
that getting up early is deemed better.
Yeah, but I don't get it. Like Ned Brockman's out there running at stupid o'clock at night sometimes, and he's pretty successful.
He's also running at stupid o'clock in the morning too. I see
I
him
know, yeah,
quite
that too,
often
yeah.
in the park.
Yeah.
He and I cross paths quite a bit in the park, and he's the greatest guy. Greatest guy.
Yeah, he is. He's awesome.
Yeah. And look, there's a guy from the UK at the moment, I can't remember his name, but he is attempting to run pretty much a very similar route
Oh, I
from
saw
Perth.
the trailer for that.
Yeah, from Perth to Sydney, Melbourne. Can't remember.
I
I
think
think
he's
to
doing,
Manly.
Cottesloe to Bondi, isn't he?
I think he's doing Cottesloe maybe to Manly. It's a slightly different course anyway, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is amazing! You know, this guy is going to do this amazing thing." And I commented on it, being like, you know, hopefully he can raise kind of money like Ned did. And Ned commented on it being like, yeah, let's go, brother. And I'm like, I love that someone is doing the same thing as him and he's just like, yep, get at it. Go and do it.
Yeah,
Break the
I read in the
record.
comments that they've been talking for a few months, like they're boys.
Uh, the mates, like they're chatting.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
It might
why.
have even been. I think Ned commented on it because everyone was saying something like, "Oh, it's great that exactly what you said. It's great that Ned's getting behind it." Then Ned commented underneath, he's like, "Known about this for a while. Been giving him some tips and things. We've been talking for X amount of time."
Right. Okay. Well, that's cool. He's
Yeah,
that kind of guy, though. He'd be the kind of guy that would just be like, yeah, sure, this is exactly where I went, what I did, and how I did it, and hopefully you can break the record. And yeah.
yeah. Don't you think? Again, going back to like what we were talking about before about how things don't get given the respect they deserve. Like, the fact that people, it won't be long now before 20, 30, 50 people have attempted to run across Australia. You know what I mean? Like, and I wonder how many people are doing it for an intrinsic reason for themselves, for something that
Mm.
they need to prove, versus social media, versus trying to be popular, versus trying to be famous, versus trying to make
But I
money.
mean, who needs to prove that to themselves? Who needs to prove I can run across Australia?
No, I don't mean necessarily proving to run across Australia, but more the
The
can I
insane.
run 100 kilometers a day for a month, right?
Right.
Like that's essentially the principle of that run. It's 4,000 kilometers or something.
Yeah.
100 kilometers a day for 40 days. Like I am curious as to what the ratio is in terms of, are you doing it for, and I hate this word, but are you doing it for clout or are you doing it for you? Because I hate being externally motivated by people. I hate people having property in my head of my thoughts or my
Yeah.
intentions or my actions.
I
And
get
I'm
that.
just like, yeah, and I just wonder how many of these people, not saying that Ned or this other fella, I think his name's Ollie. Is it Ollie?
Possibly. But I think probably half are doing it for other reasons and half are doing it for quote unquote clout. I'm not saying it anyone I know is doing it for that, but
Yeah.
we knew that Ned was doing it because he wanted to raise an insane amount of money and he was like, all right, I got to do something insane.
Yeah, for sure. Like, see how the two things marry up. To
Yeah.
raise an insane amount of money, I must do something insane.
Yeah.
Like that makes sense. But to be like, I'm just going to run across Australia because the two,
Yeah.
the two don't, that doesn't balance out.
Well, yeah, and I think this guy that's doing it, I haven't seen anything about him raising money for charity, which is fine. Like he doesn't have to.
No.
His whole thing is he wants to break the record, which would
Yeah,
have to
not
be
yeah,
because
not
he doesn't
saying
want to
that.
break it.
Not saying that you have to raise money. Like that's how you justify the thing. Like
No,
this guy's
yeah, I know what you're
he's
saying
run
though.
across America. He's done a couple of other crazy things. I think he's run across Britain as well. Like if his thing is running across countries and that's like how he loves to do it, awesome. When I'm not necessarily singling him out, I'm just like,
No, of
it's
course not.
just the balancing the wire's got to balance the cause. You know, if you're going to devote your whole life to something, because like running 4,000 kilometers in 40 days, it's not just something you train a couple of months for and go and do. It's like, hey, I've dedicated
Yeah,
years of my life for
yeah, you're
this.
definitely dedicating time to that.
Yeah, so like the wire's got to match the. It's just got they've got to match. He can't just be like, I'm going to dedicate 4 years of my life to training for this one event because it's fun. Like the two don't balance out.
All right, we could talk about this forever, but we are coming on 55 minutes, and I think that would be a decent commute for someone. That is someone listening. They're going to work, and we're getting them home.
Yeah, that's fair. All right,
I'm
guys,
gonna cut. I'm
we'll see you next week. You're not going to say anything, Georgia?
sorry.
No.
We will see you next week. Matt just looked at me and said nothing, so we'll leave it at
I
that.
was waiting. I was waiting.
This was lots of fun as always, and it is always great to jump back on the mic with you, Matt. And I look forward to talking to you again next week.
Yeah, like and subscribe, guys. Bye.